Hey y'all, Solo Guy here. Today I want to focus on a couple of items of the Warlord Epic Battles Waterloo French Starter Set. This is not a complete unboxing, okay? I just got this a few days ago in the mail, and you can see that these guys here, depending on the focusing there, that they're really packed in, which kind of makes it more historically plausible compared to what we normally get. And I do like the look of the miniatures. They do have a nice detail on them. And so the time is going to be painting. Now this is where I think Warlord did well on, because they went ahead, they included a painting guide, so this would be for beginners. And again, I am looking at this and saying, okay, I'm going to follow this path and see where does it take me. Okay, so it literally goes through and explains, look, this is going to put your guys to look reasonably decent, put it out on the table relatively quickly. So they go in, they tell you about the primer. Okay, they're using a white primer. I'm going to use a gray primer. And then, of course, start with the jackets. And then after that, you start looking at the details. And this is where life gets interesting with the details there. Now, of course, the shading wash. I've never done... They said to use the Army Painter Quick Shade Wash. At this point, I'm going to use that. I've never done that before. The closest I've come to a wash is black paint diluted with water. And I used that for my World War II vehicles. I've done it on a few miniatures. I was not overly impressed with it, so I'm going to give it a try with this set. Of course, they talk about the basing, and then, of course, what's next? You start with your artillery, you start with your commanders, and the cavalry. Now, the pom-poms for the basics, they basically said leave that in white, but if you want to be more historically accurate, they do give you the pom-pom colors here, and it tells you which company that it belongs to. I don't know if I would get to the cockades, and that's where you see the rondelles that you see on the shakos. Okay, I don't know how well. I mean, the guys who did these in fantastic jobs, I'm going to give them props. It's absolutely beautiful how they did this. Okay, and there's, of course, pictures with the cuirassier and the chasseurs cheval and the dragoons, and then, of course, the lancers, and then the voltigeurs. But it also shows you, when you put it all in line, which color, which companies go on what side. So that I like. That's a pretty good way of doing this. So there's a plus. When I opened the box, I originally thought, hey, it's two separate books. One would be the rule book, and the other would be explaining the Waterloo campaign, or Waterloo, depending how you pronounce that. Okay. Here's something that needs to be known. I'm a first-generation American, or Yank. Both of my parents were born and raised in France. None of my ancestors, to my knowledge, have fought for Napoleon. So, we got that. Back to the book. So, this is an A5 book, and of course, it is chock full of information. It is the Black Powder 2nd edition rulebook. You're not losing anything. They did modify it in that it is the emphasis on the Napoleonic Era. So some of the stories that they're going to be putting in there were not in the original Black Powder 2nd edition rulebook, because that covers, from the beginning of black powder up through the early parts, arguably, of World War I, if you wanted to put it to a stretch. But as you can see, it is exactly the same, just the emphasis on our friends there at Waterloo. Okay. And of course, with the beautifully painted miniatures, because, you know, that is an aspect of this hobby. However, you could play the game with the French starter and the British starter sets, red and blue, and you can tell who is who, and you're off to the races. You could do it that way, and there are people who will do it that way. Then there are those like yours truly that I look at the painting, I say, well, I'm going to give it my best shot. Now, this is loaded up with all kinds of diagrams, and then, of course, some actual pictures of actual artifacts. In there, it tells you, I mean, if you've played the black powder American Civil War, you've got the basics of black powder down. Although I would tend to think when you play the role of the commander and you're giving the orders and you're roughly explaining what the orders are, you know, I think you probably need to do it in a more grand manner. Because, I mean, after all, this isn't about camouflage. This is about you are seen. And then as you can see, you know, the break test talks about victory, conditions. And then you can see what the squares look like here as well. So, I mean, they did a lot here. Now, what they did do, there is supplement books that cover certain things, certain aspects, like there's Glory Hallelujah for the American Civil War. There's one for the American Revolutionary War or the American War for Independence, depending how you look at it. I don't know what my English friends across the pond, I don't remember how they refer to it offhand, but yeah, there's supplements. And there's three supplements for the Napoleonic era. This one here, this supplement was bounded with the rule book combined. And that's where I was mistakenly thinking that, hey, this was the, you know, they made a mistake, or no, they just combined it. And they did nicely. They emphasized again on Napoleonic. Now, this one was for Albion Triumphant, Part 2, the 100 Days, because the Albion Triumphant, Part 1, covers the Peninsular Campaign, which, in theory, you could use these same figures, but there are differences in the uniforms. Same thing like World War II, differences between the German uniforms of 1940 compared to 1944-45. You could get away with it in World War II. In Napoleonic, not as much. I mean, it depends who you're playing. But anyways, they give you the stats of the different forces, the allies. It gives you a quick thing on the commanders as well. Okay, now here, this is where they talk about the Prussians, which is what I'm interested in, because I'm thinking I'm not going to get a British set. I am interested in the Prussian set because I would like to do the Wars of Liberation, 1813, 1814, using the black powder rules. And again, it's got everything here to tell you what is out there. And then of course it gives you the French as well. Okay, but it also goes into the scenarios as well. And for the Prussians, the Battle of Ligny, the Battle of Plancenoit. You also have Quatre Bras. Okay, the Eve of Waterloo. I believe this is a cavalry skirmish. That's pretty wide open field right there. And the one that was not in the book, in the 100 Days book supplement was D'Erlon's attack, I believe. If I'm wrong, let me know. Okay. Placenois. Okay, I probably am butchering it. Sorry. Okay, but at the end, they give you more color photos, and that's it. I did not get the American Civil War set because I already have American Civil War figures, but looking at these Napoleonic figures, oh, it's kind of tempting to do that. But anyways, I'm looking forward to doing this because I had 28s. I went down to 72nd / 20 millimeter scale, and I was concerned about not being able to paint these, but I'm going to give it a try. Hey, I hope this benefits you guys. You take care, have a great day, and God bless you.